In this video, I want to show you how to generate creative UI ideas in just a few minutes without needing any technical skills. The tool I'm using is called Neuform, and honestly, it's perfect if you want to explore new design direction fast, get inspired, or create UI concept in a really easy way. For this video, I'm going to focus mostly on my workflow with GPT-5.5 Thinking. I'm not going to go deep into every single feature inside Neuform because I already have other videos for that. So if the UI you saw in the demo made you curious or made you think, okay, I want to learn how to create something like this, you can check out my YouTube channel. I already have 3 videos that go deeper into the full workflow. One video gives you a complete overview of Neuform, the platform, and its main feature. So that one is perfect if you are just getting started. Another video shows how you can extract a DESIGN.md file from the generated UIs, which is super useful if you want to reuse the visual direction in other AI builders. And I also have another workflow where I show you how to take a screenshot and polish it into a more premium UI directly in code. But for this video, I want to keep it simple. We're going to use Neuform to generate creative UI direction quickly, then bring those ideas into GPT 5.5 and push them further. So let's begin. So when you first open Neuform, you'll land on your personal dashboard where you can see all the UIs you already generated. And if you're not really sure where to start, or you feel like you're lacking inspiration, don't worry. Just go to the left top corner and click on Community. That's really where the magic happens. This is where you can browse work from other creators. And the cool thing is, the whole point of this platform is to build on ideas. So you're not stealing anything. Remixing is part of the workflow. You can find something that catches your eye, remix it into something different, explore new layout direction, and very quickly build a lot of UI inspiration. And the nice part is you don't need to find the perfect UI to start with. You don't need to look at something and think, okay, this is really amazing. Honestly, almost every UI has the potential to turn into something great. So for this demo, I'm going to pick the first one on the screen, click remix with prompt, and usually I like to start with a very simple prompt like recreate this layout. That's a good starting point because if you don't specify too much, the AI will usually try to stay pretty close to the original structure. After that, you just need to select your model. For the first iteration, I usually like to keep Gemini 3.1 Pro inside the platform. But for this workflow, I prefer using GPT 5.5 Thinking outside of Neuform, mostly to save credits. And as you can see, some of the more advanced models like GPT 5.5 or Opus 4.8 use 2x the credits. So if you already have a subscription to ChatGPT, it can make more sense to do part of the polishing there instead. Now, once you have your first version, this is where skills come in. And just to explain that simply, a skill is basically like a mini design instruction. It's a quick way to push the AI toward a certain style, effect, layout, animation, or visual direction. So instead of writing a super detailed prompt every time, you can use skills to enhance the layout instantly. Right now, the platform has 71 active skills, which is kind of crazy, and they are organized by category. So it's super easy to explore what's available. You'll find things grouped into stuff like style, design system, animation, WebGL, layout, and more. So once you understand what skills do, let's go back to the layout. And here's something I've changed in my workflow over time. At first, I used to overthink everything. I would spend too much time trying to find the perfect combination of skills. Now, I honestly don't do that anymore. I just pick a few skills, kind of freely, and generate multiple versions in batch. And if the result isn't perfect, that's totally fine. That's not really the point at this stage. A quick tip though, if I'm selecting, for example, 3 skills, I usually prefer to make sure they come from different categories. So for example, I wouldn't stack 3 WebGL skills together or 3 styles that all try to do the same thing. I like mixing skills to do different things because that usually gives more interesting and more balanced results. So once I pick my skill, I'll click iterate if I want to stay fairly close to the original remix. Then I often repeat the same exact process, keep the same prompt, keep the same skills, but this time click remix instead. That will give the AI a little more freedom to explore. And just like that, I already have 2 new UI directions. Then I keep going with other layouts I like. From time to time, I'll also reset the skill completely, choose another combination of 2 or 3, and continue the process. So by the end, I usually have a bunch of different variation I can start polishing. And to be honest, there's no perfect formula here. You kind of just let your imagination go wild, mix random things together, and that's part of what makes it fun. Sometimes that's exactly how you end up with something really beautiful, premium, and unexpected, like a result you probably wouldn't have thought on your own. And by the way, if you have a pro account, you can run up to 6 tasks at the same time. So yes, you can move pretty fast, but you still have to wait for some of the tasks to finish before adding more to the queue. With that said, generation is usually pretty quick. Most of the time, it takes under 2 minutes, which is why I like this platform so much. It's just fast, creative iteration in a few clicks. And also, you don't have to keep using the same prompt like recreate this layout. You can absolutely be more creative with your own prompt. Sometimes I'll add something like explore new layouts if I want the AI to drift away a little bit more from the original design and push it into new direction. So I'll keep doing this until I end up with around 15 to 20 remixes. And once I have that, that's when I start looking for the ones that have real potential to take it further. So before we review the new remixes, I just want to show you a few bad examples, the kind of result I normally wouldn't keep. So most of the time, I would just delete them and just move on. So we have this one here, and as you can see, it still looks pretty generic. We're pretty far from something that feels premium. This one feels a bit incomplete, and this one is also very basic without any strong style or visual direction. And this one as well. So, like I said, these are usually the kind of generation I would delete pretty quickly because I don't want to waste too much time trying to save every single result. But recently, I found a nice way to recycle even the average one and turn them into something much better. So now let's look at our first remix. This one is already pretty nice because it has a clear visual direction. It doesn't feel completely generic anymore. And if we click on the bottom right, we can also see the original reference it was remixed from. So as you can see, the remix is completely different from the original, and that's exactly what makes it interesting. This is a great remix because it feels like it created its own direction. Now we have the second remix, and if we compare it to the original reference, you can see again that it went in a completely different direction. So this one also has potential, but I still don't think it's fully there yet. The layout is interesting, but it lacks contrast. And I'm also not a big fan of the color choices and or the font pairing. So what I like to do here is go at the top right, click on the export feature, and just download the HTML file. Then I go back to my ChatGPT app, upload the HTML file, and ask GPT 5.5 to analyze the code. Usually I tell it that I want to explore a new theme, improve the font pairing, and push the color palette further. So instead of asking it to directly fix everything right away, I'll first ask for new ideas. Then I go through the recommendation, pick a direction I like the most, and ask it to apply that direction. So for this one, I'm going with the first recommendation. So I ask it to make the UI feel more premium and just provide the full updated code. I like doing it this way because there's less chance of error. Since this is only a small UI, the code is usually not too long. So instead of replacing small section one by one, I can just copy the full updated code and replace the original code completely. That makes the process cleaner and much faster. So inside Neuform, I open the right menu, go to the code tab, select the full code, and just replace it with the new one. And very important, make sure to always save. Now, when we preview it, you can already see the difference. We have a better contrast, a stronger color combination, and the font pairing feels much more intentional. And the nice part is, this only took one iteration to elevate the original remix. Another thing I really like is that if the UI already had animation or interaction, the remix usually keeps that motion. So I don't have to think too much about adding animation, interaction, or movement from scratch. So now the final version already feels much polished and the motion is already there. So that's basically the workflow. Now let's look at our second UI. This one already has a nice visual direction and a distinct style. And here is the original reference. As you can see, the layout is almost the same, but the style is different. So I'm just going to repeat the same process. I export the HTML file, upload it to ChatGPT, and ask it to analyze the UI and suggest a new direction. Once I select the theme that I like, I copy the full updated code and just replace the old code again. And right away, the UI feels already much more polished and more premium. Also, don't forget to save your changes. Because if you paste the new code and close the code panel without saving, the preview can still show your first iteration. So saving is important if you don't want to lose the new update. Now, something interesting happened here. I noticed that my second UI ended up with a similar color palette and font pairing as the first one. And that's because my prompt was not clear enough. I basically told ChatGPT, do the same thing for this UI. So it understood I wanted to apply the same kind of changes from the previous remix. So that's something important to keep in mind if you're working on multiple UIs in the same ChatGPT conversation. If you want a different direction, make sure you ask clearly for a new theme, new color palette, and a new font pairing. Now, let's do the same thing with the third remix. This one is also pretty similar to the second UI in terms of layout, but this time I'm going to be more precise with my prompt. So instead of saying do the same thing, I ask it to analyze the UI code and provide new ideas for a different theme, better font pairing, and a fresh color palette. Then I just pick the direction I like, copy the updated code, and replace it again. And straight away, we get a completely new style. It still keeps almost the exact same layout, but the visual direction feels different from the original reference. And that's really the power of this workflow. You don't always need to rebuild the structure. Sometimes the layout is already good. You just needed to give it a stronger theme, better typography, better contrast, and a more intentional color system. So this transformation technique is really simple. You just need to put your design direction into words, give the AI enough context, and then let it help you push your UI further. Now let's quickly review the remaining remixes. So here we have this UI. This is the before. It already had a pretty strong visual direction, and this is the original reference it came from. So again, I use the same process, export the HTML, bring it into GPT 5.5, ask for a better theme, better typography, better contrast, and then replace the code. And now here is the enhanced version. This one turned out really nice. I like the color direction, the font pairing feels better, and the animation also feels more polished. Even the laser effect has been improved, so overall, I think this is a really good transformation. Next, we have another remix from the same original reference, but this one used slightly different skills. So here is the before, and here is the after. For this one, I kept the same green direction, but everything feels more refined. The contrast is stronger, and the layout feels so much cleaner. So this one is also a good result. Now for the next UI, this one already had a nice style and a strong layout from the remix. So I didn't need to completely reinvent it. I just used the same process to push the visual direction further. And here is the after. It keeps the same structure, but the final version feels more polished and more premium. Now on to the next one. This UI had good potential, but it needed a stronger visual identity. So here is the before, and now here is the after. Again, the layout is mostly the same, but the theme, color palette, and typography make it feel like a completely stronger version. Now for the next UI, here is the before, and for the enhanced version, I switched to a completely different color palette, and I think this one looks great. It feels much more unique, and it's a good example on how you can keep the same layout but completely change the mood of the design. The next one is a similar remix, but again, it was generated with slightly different skills. And for this version, I decided to play more with the laser direction. So here is the before, and here is the final result. I think this one turned out really good. The motion feels more integrated into the design, and the whole UI feels much more premium. Now, onto the next one. This is the before, and this is the after. And as you can see, this workflow is useful, but it's not magic. I didn't really like this transformation. The result still doesn't feel strong enough, and instead of trying to force it, I would just delete this one and move on. There's no need to waste too much time trying to save every single UI. And finally, for the last UI, this is the before, and this is the after. Again, the goal here is not to make every remix perfect. The goal is to generate a lot of creative direction quickly, find the one with potential, and then use AI to polish the best one into something stronger. So that's pretty much the full workflow. This is how I take an average generated UI and turn it into something more polished, more usable. And honestly, I think this is a great way to generate inspiration fast. You might end up with a nice hero section that becomes the starting point for a new landing page. Or you might even generate a completely new visual direction, extract the DESIGN.md file, and use that to enhance another landing page with a specific style. This is also perfect if you want to share design experiments on social media, build a small collection of UI ideas, or even add some of them to your personal portfolio. And as you can see, the process is pretty simple. You can generate a bunch of UI direction really fast, and I think almost anyone can do this. You don't need technical skills, you don't need to know how to code. You can start from something average, something incomplete, or even something you would normally delete, and still turn it into a much stronger iteration. That's why I think this workflow is so useful. Neuform is really great for fast creative exploration, and GPT 5.5 Thinking is really strong when it already has a solid design context to work from. So if you want to generate more creative UI ideas without overthinking the starting point, this is definitely a workflow worth trying. So if you're interested in Neuform, DESIGN.md files, or AI and design workflows in general, make sure to check out the other videos on my channel. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.